We've had a number of hurricanes in Coral Gables, Florida. We've had storm surge. We've had tremendous damage, several $1 million in damage because of that. And we've responded by trying to start a community dialogue on why all of this is happening, what sea level rise is going to mean for our community, which is only 4 feet above sea level. And we put $250,000 into this year's budget in order to take a look at specifically what can we do with our infrastructure, looking forward to the incredibly high seas that should be occurring because of sea level rise and all that causes it.
So what kind of support does your community need?
Well, first of all, we need to recognize that we have a problem. That's our biggest decision, biggest challenge, because most of our residents are focused on short-term problems, but not the long-term problem that's coming. So community education is the first thing. We're a very prosperous community. We can do certain amounts of things, but we have limestone underneath our city, so we can't build dikes, we can't put dunes in, and we have 47 miles of exposure. So we, in a certain sense, are doomed if you take the long point of view, because we'll be underwater in 60, 70 years. But there are things we can do in the short term, and we need to get regional support for that and federal money.
Is there more than just money you need? You need engineering support?
We need our residents to realize that being 4 feet above sea level, already with our FEMA flood maps, we have approximately $3 billion of our $15 billion economy at risk, not even counting sea level rise, storm surge, hurricanes. So once I think we get the residents behind us, they will encourage us as mayors to put more money into it, and to make sure that subsequent mayors and commissioners work together regionally with the state of Florida and nationally and internationally, that we can't do it alone. We have to work together. Well, I think it's very important that we get together and listen to the scientific evidence, listen to the products that are available for us to predict what's going to happen under various scenarios in our cities, and to show that it's a bipartisan issue. It has nothing to do with politics. As they say, the watermark on a sea level indicator is not political, it's what it is. And so we need to focus on reality, and more than anybody else, the mayors are responsible for results. They look to us. So we have to take the leadership role and get everybody together, and then we move up to state and federal. Federal's usually last. We're flat. We're flat, and we have the ocean in front of us, a lot of canals, and we have behind us the Everglades. And in Coral Gables, we get down 6 inches, and it's 100-foot deep ancient coral reefs. We've been underwater, and the predictions are that already built into the ocean warming is at least a 1.7 meter sea rise that will occur by the end of the century, and we're 4 feet above sea level. So it's there it is. We have to face it, and our aquifers are underneath. They'll be inundated by seawater, and so the airport will eventually be underwater. So we're in a very difficult situation that even if we stop global warming, do everything we can, there's only a certain amount. So whether we have a second 90th anniversary, as we've just celebrated this year, will depend on our hopes that the Arctic ice fields don't deteriorate as fast as people think, and then what we can do to gain a number of years before, unfortunately, the inevitable occurs. Right now, I've never received an email as mayor in 5 years from our residents, who 65% of them have university degrees, and we have the University of Miami in Coral Gables, and a third of our residents are graduates. So it's very surprising for me that we're so focused, the residents, on quality of life issues in the short term, but not a term which could be 35 to 50 years out, when our grandkids will wonder why nobody paid attention to what people were predicting was going to happen.
That sounds so sad.
Well, in a sense it is. I mean, we have certain inevitability built in, I think. There's a nice program called Eyes on the Rise in Florida International University. It's put together where you can put your address in, and it will show you 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot. And it's pretty, we have about 26% of our residences are within 4 feet of current sea level normal conditions. So hopefully science will come up with something that can take some of the heat out of the atmosphere, maybe reflect the sun back, some of the sun back. I don't know. I'm hoping there's a great opportunity in the medium term for adaptive technologies, for different energy options. We certainly have to build our future infrastructure up to gain us more time. But whether we can build ourselves out of what's been done over the last 80 years in terms of putting carbon dioxide in, not to mention methane that's coming from the permafrost in Canada and the melting of the ice sheets, they have us down as number 4 as the most impacted, but we probably should be number 1 in terms of impacted, and is there anything we can do about it? I think this is a wonderful gathering. I think the information that comes out of this needs to be available to everybody. We need to begin a national dialogue, and we need to come up with some kind of a federal resiliency fund where money will be put aside for the communities that have to retreat. And some communities can adapt, some can build dunes, but some are going to have to walk backwards, and we're going to have to demolish buildings, and we're going to have to prepare for an ugly, unfortunate future. And I think we're having to be at ground zero. We were underwater for millions of years. So hopefully there's a solution, but most of the scientists are pretty pessimistic about South Florida in the long run. Well, I would say, can you not read a sea level gauge? Why don't you believe the evidence? And what are you going to say to people, to your grandkids 30 years ago, if you denied this is going to happen and you didn't see it's happening? What will your excuse be?